I just finished up the show prep here. In the previous clip, there are images of the new home that it's a fixer-upper. We're getting that. It's a Rio Grande, California. And I've spoken about our move, so things are, come along real fast. So anyway, there are some clips of it. I'll put some more up in the description under that one. And, speaking of homes and all this stuff that's going on in the news about homelessness in L.A., many years ago, I belonged religiously to a coffee group that met over at McDonald's in Studio City. I think I was involved with that for about 11 years in the late 80s to the mid to late 90s. And it was mostly regulars, of course, retired people. And Studio City is one of these areas that was basically a middle-class neighborhood in the late 50s through the mid to late 60s and 70s, and then it became this trendy thing because everybody wanted to move to those type of areas that they knew were those kind of neighborhoods. So it's gotten real crowded. I now refer to it as the shithole of the universe, which basically it is. But I'm not going to digress on that right now. But being a regular at McDonald's, anything that walked in off the desert came in there. And they had shoddy management that didn't really want to deal. And so anyway, getting back to that, the popularity of Studio City brought in the homeless. And after being a regular there for so many years, who the neighborhood homeless people are, their patterns and the different individuals and what their issues are and so on and so forth. But what was interesting is always about, and I said, I'm talking this over an experience of 11 years, that whenever there was a national election, it was always interesting how the homeless population picked up in Studio City. And we had two brothers that were Jewish, and they were real staunch conservatives, real tight with their funds and everything. And one of them made a crack once about, we were discussing that, about, it's interesting how the homeless always kind of escalate. And they were talking about the fact that they thought that they might be liberal plants in an election to go around and harass people who they thought were Republicans. And usually it was like, the retired couple that, drove in the big Cadillac to go get their senior discount at McDonald's on coffee. The so-called greatest generation. And so anyway, I had remembered that. And it was interesting because after the election, a lot of these newer-looking homeless people just kind of, just gradually disappeared. And then it was back to the regular ones. And as I said, I saw this over 11 years. So I thought that was quite interesting. And later on, about a few years after that, I did read in the local publication, I don't know if it was in Patch or the Daily News, but it was some local paper to the San Fernando Valley. And they were talking about it, that there was kind of a scam going on where there were unemployed, low-budget independent film actors that were portraying themselves as homeless in order to get extra bucks. And they'd go around and beg and, and harass people. So I thought that was quite interesting in that sense. Now, getting back to the real business here, as to the squabbles and stuff in the ufology community here, the UFOs, two YouTube channels that are run basically by amateur ufologists got into a squabble where the one's got a a large telescope, and he looks at anomalies on the moon, and the other channel looks at a lot of photograph, points things out, and it got typical. It came, excuse me. It got into the typical squabble. It's a fight over the proceeds. My channel's got more subscribers, and I want more money, and you're competing with me, and I don't like it. That kind of crap. And it's a couple of gentlemen. One's named Bruce, and one's named Chris. And so, if you're active in the community, the amateur community, you'll probably know. And it started out where the one was complaining that they were blocked by the other individual at their Facebook account, and then at their YouTube account, and then confronted the other individual about it, and the other individual started getting nasty and making remarks in their comment sections, and this one had this group of trolls, the other one had that group of trolls harassing each other, and it was just, it's a lot of fun in this field to see this kind of stuff. It does make it fun, but it also does make it very difficult in order to try to do serious research. And this was just an example of that. But again, the host of characters is like the amateur astronomy community. And believe me, we got plenty of those. Excuse me. And so anyway, we're getting a little long here on the clip. And I had one other thing I wanted to talk about, and I forgot what that was. So we'll have something for another clip. And until then, we will see you in the next clip.